right now let me introduce our panel. In the studio is our Editor-in-Chief Raman Kirpal. From Chennai, our colleague Jayashree Arunachalam. And of course joining us, also from Chennai, is Shabbir.
With this Gaza coverage, I see it is also important because it fits into the agenda of all these national channels, because there is also an underlying strong anti-Muslim rhetoric, because that's something that these channels are, trying to come out with.
These Indian correspondents who are there, they must be such buffoons. They must be giving access to, theek hai, tum log wahan baitho, you can get served tea, and they are jumping around as if they know shit. It's embarrassing, man. I just...
No, but...
The UN Security Council had that resolution which proposed a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. 4 countries voted against it, and those were the US, UK, Japan, and France. So Russia, who is, the baddie that we are all supposed to hate, Russia voted for the humanitarian ceasefire.
No, if you don't want to follow rules of law, then at least follow rules of war.
Yeah.
I mean, in rules of war, you do not attack hospitals.
Yeah, it's only in India where, Sudhir Chaudhary will be invited to speak. In fact, the one place where he was invited to speak with me, I was looking forward to be on the stage. But he didn't show up. Not only are they bigots, they're cowards. I was so looking forward. I said, aaj to maza aayega. I'll land up there. He wasn't there. Maine kaha, if I knew you weren't there, I also wouldn't have come. Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now, Chhota Hafta is but a small, Chhota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और Newslaundry अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta. We have a new News Minute Newslaundry fund up for covering the elections together. The forthcoming assembly elections in 5 states will be covered jointly by the reporting and editorial teams of News Minute and Newslaundry. We have a special TNM NL fund up. You can contribute to it through the News Minute website or to the Newslaundry website. Our special guest today is from the News Minute.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, our pleasure. Shabbir is joining us from Chennai. He is a senior news editor with the News Minute. When I was in Aaj Tak, there were no channels back then. But even back then, whenever I used to travel anywhere outside the city, the joke was, Acha, so you do Aaj Tak. They do Delhi news. I said, no, they do daily news. He says, no, they do Delhi news. No one does daily news. I was like, okay, fine. So that was the joke. So that's why we need to do news from outside Delhi. On that note, Jayashree is going to give us the headlines of what transpired in the week.
Yeah, so here are the headlines for the week. So a 5-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court on Tuesday refused to grant legal recognition to same-sex marriages. It's now left it to Parliament to formulate a law on the matter. So right. I have something to say on this, which is just
please.
That I feel like if you live in this hyper theoretical world, then separation of power exists and that, legal changes should come from the legislature. But everyone knows this isn't how it's working now. And the Supreme Court itself has made judicial activism like its hallmark, right? Like it interferes in all kinds of nonsense like the NRC, and it interferes in important things like environmental law. So in this system, which in theory should function one way, but in practice operates another way, has now chosen to sort of look away, hiding behind the principle of separation of power. So I feel like this is a very deliberate choice. And then after sitting through the entire reading of the judgments yesterday, where Justice Chandrachud was making really great, important, moving points, then at the end of that entire 3-hour sort of discourse, sort of just like, yes, well, we are now passing it on.
Satish Acharya's cartoon on this is really nice. It's
if you just look at the trend, I mean, the way Supreme Court, has been giving its judgments. So they make lots of sound and fury, about everything. That this is it, this is right. So they go with the public sentiment. When it comes to the final judgment, the final page, everything is in the court of the government.
I mean, I had put this out yesterday, not an oasis but a mirage. And I was referring to the Supreme Court because one had such expectations on it. But just one thing on this judgment, that the judgment was unanimous that they do not say yes to same-sex marriage. That is, the executive will say it. The split decision was Justice Kaul and Justice Chandrachud said yes to adoption and civil union for, same-sex couples. But the other three judges, not dissented. Theirs was the majority opinion. So on that, it was a split decision. And I thought that was at least a step forward. And at least according to the paper today, it's very rare for the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, to be on the side of the minority decision.
Right.
On this, I was disappointed because I get it. If someone says that,
political parties not talking about it is also, something that we need to be concerned about, because in many ways, there are several litigations that are pending in the Supreme Court, which also includes litigations about Article 370 and various other issues. But the Supreme Court, the way the Supreme Court behaves is quite disappointing. Like you said, in all these matters, they will make all the sound and fury, but at the end of the day, the result is absolutely disappointing.
So, let me go to our guest first. Shabbir, you've been watching the coverage of what's happening in the Middle East. What do you make of it? And why is there such an excitement of covering the violence in Gaza from the ground, where Indian journalists or networks don't even send their correspondents like 200 kilometers away?
It's visually, for TV channels, they need that content is what I feel. Because when I was working in Times Now, they sent reporters to Ukraine for the war, and multiple reporters, that too. First, they sent one batch of reporters, then they sent another batch of reporters. I think it's some kind of pressure for these channels to, send their reporters on ground. But particularly what I see is...
this TV9, which was the new entrant, and their entire success story, they became number one during the telecast of Ukraine war. They were the first one who came up, who were, when everybody was, covering Modi and all, they were just highlighting Ukraine. So the government had served a notice on them that you are showing, they put an embargo, on this showing Ukraine news, because they had stopped showing Modi. So
they are the ones who were using video game graphics.
Video game graphics also.
It looked like
So they were, since they became number one due to their Ukraine coverage, so the rest of them followed. So I think the same thing they have done.
It's also TV9 Bharatvarsh is the channel that started this trend of covering conflicts and war with their graphics. Because if you see their one of their early coverages, it's all about war. They'll come up with something. On a random day, they'll come up with some story about China. China ne kiya hai, pata hai aapko, China mein ek gufa hai, and all that kind of stories.
I'm not really bothered about the Indian channels making a fool of themselves. I think that's what they do anyway. I think there is a misinformation campaign being waged. But like I said last week also, the misinformation campaign is coming from your Western media houses. It doesn't come from... India is participating in it, yes, and sort of propagating it. But at the end of the day, the Israel official handle tweeted that video saying, we have proof that it came from Islamic Jihad. But then the tweet had the video had the wrong timestamp. It was timestamped much after the thing had taken place. So then they quickly edited the tweet, deleted the video, put up the actual video. So this is... And the thing is that these are not mistakes, right? And when papers like the New York Times and all pick it up, these are sort of deliberate editorial decisions, I think.
The BBC usually, it's very uncharacteristically adjective loaded. The kind of words they use for the violence that comes from the Palestinian side as opposed to the violence that comes. And because I listen to the podcast every day, it is, and I wonder, why is this such a big issue? Because, see, no news platform is perfect, but all said and done, I think the BBC is pretty measured. And even them to go so far, I always wonder, why is this issue, I think it's the most complicated issue in the world. It's even more complicated than Kashmir. Because it is so long, like 1947 onwards, like there are 2 wars fought. So at different points in time of this whole conflict, there have been many unreasonable parties. And I think, at least I have no qualms in saying, and those unreasonable parties have been as much claiming to represent Palestine as they have been claiming to, like, for example, when they show the map today, I mean, there was a 2-state offered, back in the late 40s, early 50s, which was rejected by Palestine at that time.
Not supporting in favor of Hamas, but if you look at the entire thing historically, they have remained under Israeli siege. I mean, even if you're offering 2 states, you are under the siege. And
no, I was talking about the offered in the late 40s. Now, of course, it is. They
have been under siege for 20 years or more.
More, yeah.
And there are shrinking. 7 gates, 6 entrance. 6. They don't even have their own entry gate or exit gate. There's 7 exit gates. 6 are maintained by the Israeli, and the 1 is of Egypt. And whatever I'm seeing it today, I have seen it in 2014 also.
I don't think the situation is as complicated, or I don't think it's as difficult to understand as people make it out to be. I do also think, though, that it is at this point of time not a solvable situation. Because for me, I believe that the foundation of Israel is, yes, it is the displacement of people. Just that we're saying that since so many decades have passed, that we set that aside. That is that is the expectation now, right? That this shocking crime that took place, we set it aside because now Israel exists. It is an ethno-state for whatever reason. And we expect Palestinians to sort of now come to some kind of compromise. But what is the compromise? Because there is no 2-state solution. There is no returning of territory or redrawing of borders. There is no return for all those millions of refugees who have been driven out. They can't come back to Israel. Israel doesn't want them back. So
now let's move on to Shabbir's story. So Shabbir, you and Sudipto have been working on this for a while. So don't give away too much, but tell us, what is this entire investigation about?
As far as RSS and BJP is concerned, Tamil Nadu has been a prestigious battle for them, because this is one state that has never given them any kind of opportunity to establish their base in here in in the state. So they have been aggressively trying to do this. So nobody had an idea as to what kind of work that they are doing. There are 2 areas where they have established their base. One is in Kanyakumari, another one is in Coimbatore. And after the demise of Dravidian icons like Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, both these RSS, BJP and all the other Hindutva forces have been going out of their way to try and establish their presence in Tamil Nadu.
Could I just ask a question, which is, but what is it about Kanyakumari that makes it so different? I mean, it is a Christian majority sort of area, right? But so how did the RSS find it so open for Hindutva sort of ideas?
See, it's a Christian as well as Hindu. They are in equal numbers. It's not the Christian majority area. It's Christians and Hindus are in equal numbers.
Yeah.
So the overarching theme in Kanyakumari is that in another 15 years, the entire Kanyakumari district will become, a population that is full of Christians, because there is large scale of conversions that are happening. So that became the demographic, factor became one of the central themes for the RSS to build their base in Kanyakumari. And after the 1981 Meenakshipuram conversions, where in Tirunelveli district, hundreds of families embraced Islam, that was the time when RSS became even more active, because it garnered national attention. So they were almost all the Hindu groups traveled to Meenakshipuram. They were trying to do that Ghar Wapasi and all that, but the problem there was different.
Bas, muft mein itna ich milega. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also, pay for news. and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.